Okay, let's do this. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a little bit of a different video. A rambling video, if you want to call it that. So a lot of people keep asking me, what is my opinion on the current state of Siege? And I have a mixed opinion, and I thought I'll just give you my 2 cents. So I'll be going through some bullet points that I kind of written down that are the core essentials of how I feel about the current game state, and what I think the community and myself should do. Now, these are just going to be my 2 cents. You are free to disagree with me. I like it when people disagree with me because it means that we create discussion. This is how we improve. This is how we actually make a better product. So disagree with me if you feel like, and agree with me if you feel like. But I would like you guys to comment it as well. It encourages us to kind of have this discussion. I also want to emphasize that my opinions are 100% mine. They are not stained. I'm not under any obligations to say X, Y, Z because I worked with Ubisoft in the past and, you know, a part of the creator program, etc. I am allowed to be 100% honest. I know some people misunderstand and think that I have to say certain things because I'm, you know, a participant in the creator program and have gone to Rio de Janeiro with them, etc. I am not. I'm free to say exactly what I want, and I will say exactly what I want and how I feel. Now let's address some issues here, okay? So I've listed a few ones here, but I'll be starting off with the biggest contender that most of us will agree on here, the cheating situation. Now, for me, cheating hasn't really been that bad. It's been a little bit here and there and stuff like that. It also has, honestly, been the reason that the random op Rein wasn't recorded last season, because I recorded for multiple hours and didn't really get any usable footage. However, since the vast majority of my content is resided in quick play, it hasn't really been an issue. Until very recently, where cheaters has actually migrated over to quick match. Not too many of them. It was mostly during a small period where we know that one of the main providers has had like a free access thing, whatever. But yeah, it's more or less not really been an issue in quick match. So for me, it hasn't been that bad, but I do know and acknowledge that it is really bad, especially in ranked. However, I want to refrain from discussing ranked in this video. The reasoning for that is that I am not going to be a good voice for the community when it comes to ranked. I don't play it enough. I'm not part of the group that creates content revolving around ranked. My content can be in ranked, it can be in unranked, it can be in quick match, it can be dual front, it can be events. My content is centered around Siege. What Siege is, not around ranked specifically. So I will refrain from voicing my opinion on this because I wouldn't have enough data or knowledge to speak in a well-mannered way about it. So if we're making like a small deal out of it, if we're going to be quickly glancing over the cheater issue, I kind of want to like emphasize that I think it's a issue that's very big in high ranks. It is emphasized with a lot of content creators, streamers, high rank players who voice their opinion. Veterans will voice their opinion, right? And we see a lot of Reddit posts. Like, anger creates discourse, creates like engagements, and creates more clicks. So people will discuss it alone. Personally, I kind of refrain from it when I don't have cheaters. I will discuss it when there is cheaters in my games. So that's why it's been like kind of a dead silence approach for me. But yeah, cheaters suck. Get a life, bro. I'll never, like, honestly, just like a side note, I'll never understand the joy. Like playing cookie clicker, which is what it is, right? Because when you're playing a cheater, like when you're cheating in a video game, you're just playing cookie clicker. You're not even playing the game, right? But yeah, that's beside the point. I want to talk a little bit about communication from Ubisoft. I wish with all my heart that they were better at communicating. I feel like a lot of issues, misunderstandings, frustration points could have been not necessarily avoided, but at least eased a fair bit if Ubisoft would communicate more. If they would talk to us more, if they would sort of let us know in advance, let us know what they're working on, stuff like that, give us insights. We had a small time after Operation Health where they were really good with this, but it's kind of dabbled off. And I feel like that would help a bit. Honestly, if you guys, like, what do you guys think about that? You like, I would love to hear, because I think that once you understand what's going on behind the curtains, you have a much better reasoning and understanding to accept the mistakes, the bugs, the issues, right? And that's one of the things I really hope that Ubisoft backs up on. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I'm going to basically list up the next 3 things very briefly and how they are issues, and then I'm going to come back to my feelings, so I don't like mix bag this, right? First issues, then feelings, and then a little bit of my thoughts on what can be done, you know? So let's circle back to lack of content and boredom. We do know that there was no mid-season patch last season. There were, like, basically, there's been very little happening with the game for quite a bit now, outside of, like, the 1/2 operator changes per season, and we get that 1 operator every other season, and modernized maps has been a nice touch, and the Blicky getting, like, I want to also emphasize, like, the Blicky this season is actually kind of solid. It was a good change. You get a new gun, you get new tools to work with multiple operators, not just one, and on both sides. But at the end of the day, it feels a little bit lackluster. It's easy to get bored in Siege if you play it more than once a week, right? I have a note here, and it says community / negativity. Now, this is not a direct, like, spite, prod, annoyance, attack on you guys. It doesn't necessarily count for you. It might not even count for you who's watching this video. It might count for you, but you will know if it does, right? I don't mean that the community is an issue inherently. Siege has always had a more vocal negative side of the community. A little bit toxic, we might say. Like, one of the rumors is that Siege is toxic. I experience very little of it in my games, but I know it is an issue. I want also to emphasize here, I'm treading extremely cautiously because I know some people can feel attacked by this, but I do not mean to attack the individual themselves. I'll be circling back to this, but I think a major contributor to why it feels hopeless, lost, and bad is actually that the Siege community focuses on negativity. Well, the only thing we talk about is the bad stuff, because right now it is in a rough state. Again, I'll be circling back to this when I come back into my feelings, but it is like there's a lot of negativity in the game, and that's one of the, for me, one of the main drives to feel that I need to make this video, for example, right? I need to voice my opinion. I've already mentioned that ranked is in a bad state because of the cheater stuff, but I'll go into my feelings now. So let's talk a little bit about what I feel about Siege right now, in its current state. So in terms of my feelings, I like Siege. Siege is fun. It is imbalanced in its own way, and it might be a bit stale right now, but Siege is unique. Siege gives me something that other FPSs doesn't, in a multitude of ways, from anything to the operator pool, to the environmental mechanics, to the way you can do team play, to like just the game itself. The whole vastness of the game is just completely different. No other games gives me this exact feeling, which is why I always find myself keep coming back to Siege, or when I play other video games, I keep thinking, this isn't Siege, because it doesn't give me the same thing. And that's kind of important to remember when shit hits the fan, when stuff isn't doing too good, and when we're being like in a negative spiral like we are right now. I briefly touched upon it earlier, but I want to emphasize that cheaters restrain my wishes to play other game modes than quick match. That is my word-by-word bullet point on the thought sheet that I made. I made basically like a little like mind map on ideas, so talking points that I want to have here. Now, what I mean with this is, not only does it restrain it in the physical sense that, like, I don't want to play ranked because it takes time to record, it takes time to play the games, and then it's just a cheater, and maybe even if you win, you get all back, right? But what I mean with it is, I don't want to play, like, ranked on stream. I don't even want to play unranked on stream, because if I queue into a guy who's cheating when I'm playing unranked, my stream is in purgatory. Everybody viewing that needs to sit there until we can either surrender, cancel the game, he gets banned, or we have suffered for 30 minutes. Which is one of my biggest issues. You are so stuck when there's a cheater that it is basically unplayable. So I leverage towards game mode, or lean towards game mode, bad wording, but I lean towards game modes that are quick match or dual front, because you can leave, right? I don't want to troll the cheater by placing an EDD and getting them like KO'd, or encouraging TKs on them, which I don't really do because vigilante stuff is never good. But yeah, if it's not that, then I can just leave. I can requeue. It also helps a bit with stream snipers, but that's been less of an issue the last 4 seasons, I think. We had like a issue with it in the past, but now it's just been that. So I feel kind of forced to play in quick match, and again, there's a few things I don't like about quick match. I don't like the pre-made setups. I always said that the way defense should work is that they should choose between 1 out of 3 pre-made setups. setup A, setup B, because every like bomb site has two default setups which quick play randomly chooses between. If it's given me those two options and a third option that gives you 10-second longer prep phase but no pre-med reinforcement, suddenly you can be creative in quick match again. And I would love to have that back, but I hope that, like, I get that it's like quick match is supposed to be like boom, 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 done, go in, go, fight. But then again, with that mentality where where the spawn picking come in, right? Because they have removed spawn picking from quick match for defender side because attackers have attacker protection. That's not even there. So it's like, you know, it's a bit back and forth maxing, but yeah. Quick match is in like a mid state, I would say. It's not optimal, but it is the most optimal thing for me to stream, play, and record in right now. Because of that. I will also continue making Siege videos. I've been asked if I'm going to stop making them and stuff, and I don't think that's going to happen. Because Siege is fun, like I said. I make videos as long as it's fun. And I've always said this, and I'm very vocal about it. I don't do stuff because I have to. I do it because I want to. I play and make Siege videos because that's what I like, that's what I enjoy, and I'm very happy to do so. And if I didn't, I would probably do something else. Which leads me down to, like, I might do some more variety if Siege ever... Like, if the like fun dabbles down a little bit more now. Maybe I'll do more focus on other things. We'll see, but... Again, as long as the game is fun, I will be posting. It's what it is. I like Siege. Even though it sounds stupid when the game is in a shitty state and everybody's negative about it. Yeah. This became way longer than I expected. Briefly talking about content flow. My next point is content flow. My issue with content flow is that it feels harder and harder to make videos. I've seen multiple other creators talk about this. It feels like either within the first month, optimistically 1.5 months or like halfway into a new season, we're repeating old content because there's not enough smaller minuscule changes, there's not enough flow of things happening that it feels repetitive, and that's like kind of to be expected by a game that's supposed to also be competitive, because if it's competitive it needs to be a bit stale in order to be refined, which means that the pros can play it at an optimal level. But again, for me, it's like, let's give you an example though, right? The Random Operator Ranked series, that started because I needed to fill some gaps, and I wanted to do like a test for myself to play ranked, but in a different setting. But again, it's like, it's already been done, like everything's been done. So what do? You make the same Capcom EDD 50 times in a row. It does feel a bit lackluster, right? I wouldn't like mind it too much if we had like alternate game mode, like solo duo queue game modes, or a ranked but it's limited operator pools, stuff like that, because it would be fun. Self-imposed restrictions aren't as fun when they're not followed by the whole lobby. Like hell, I would even like a tournament that was like a tournament where it's like best of 3s, but you have to slash the operator pools in 3, and then you can only choose from those 3 blocks every time, like a draft, even draft league tournaments, right? Just something that's a little bit different than ordinary Siege. But having those being self-imposed rules means that the opposition always gets an advantage to you, and it becomes a bit repetitive and boring. And rightfully so this specific season with the Blicky, I think I mentioned this, but with the Blicky, the Aurora's machine pistol being distributed to a multitude of operators, it has actually been more interesting because I've been playing more Rook, I've been playing more Oryx, I've been going back to playing pulse with shotgun. Like it created more variety for me, so I would like just more of that, more options. And again, in the same kind of vein, having a third option. I know this has been like controversial whenever I've been talking about with other creators, but I'm a big fan of having worse options. If I can choose between 3 primaries on an operator, let's use IQ as an example, 3 like assault rifles. She does not have a shotgun. Technically one is an LMG, but you know what I mean, right? They all treat differently, and usually there's one very clear winner. Like there's one better one, but you still like to have options. Sometimes it's fun to use shittier weapons because it's just variety. I would like to have that at least, but I know that I'm a little bit alone in this specific instance, but I would also like more weapon shuffles. I don't mind it if we, like, an operator loses the super shorty and another one gets it. Looking at you, Mossy, right now, down on the ground, because you're, what, 150 centimeters tall. That would almost be up for me, because I'm also short. but you know what I mean, right? Changing loadouts, variety in gadgets, like secondary gadgets and stuff like that, it creates new content. Rook with C4. This season, people are playing Rook. Not because they want to spawn pick for the 76th time, getting 5 kills outside of playing on the pixel angle, but because they actually just want to play Rook with C4 because it's fun to bait to the Rook armor. Just changes. Make something that makes it more interesting. That's something that I would love. But again, like I said, I will be doing more of the... a little bit back again. I will be doing more of the Random Operator Ryan series. I have a new one going right now on the solo queue account. For context, the solo queue account is actually higher ranked right now, or like hidden rank, than my primary account. It's hovering somewhere in high emerald to champion on the solo queue account, which makes it a little bit harder to get footage, especially with the new self-imposed rule for the Thanos snap video. I don't think that's going to be out when this comes out, but again, it's coming back, even though it's been like in a rougher state. Just trying to time it better. I'm still sick, by the way, in case you guys hear that in the voice. I'll briefly mention it too. It comes in heaps. It comes and goes. Siege. Like, we all get a little bit burned out. At least I do. And I've had, like, when we started playing COD on the stream, it was because we had, like, what, a 2-year break of Siege, because I was really burnt out. Almost 2 years, actually. Like, it comes and goes, and we always have these, like, it's like a roller coaster. Sometimes we'll just hit this, like, oh, now we're in a bad state and we have some negativity going, then it'll go up again, and that's just how it works. It's an old game. The game is 10 years old. Think about how much you have changed in 10 years, right? Think about how much I have changed and you've changed and everyone you know, right? It's a different game. The world is different. So obviously there's going to be different feelings to playing the same game over a long time. I do also want to emphasize in the same vein that I am now in a state in the game where I feel like, especially on attack right now, interestingly enough, I don't feel like there's too much to do. I'm doing some silly shenanigans with Nomad right now, as of right now with like air jabs and like trying to use the modernized maps and pipes and stuff for fun, but I'm running a little bit out. And that's fine, but again, I don't want to do repetitive content, which is why the lack of long form videos has been coming up now. It's been going slower, specifically because of that on my channel, and I wouldn't be surprised if that counts for others. Yeah. Let's hop into the small talking points and my humble opinion on what can be done. I want to emphasize here again, I would love to hear your opinion. I do not think that I am the optimal person to ask in these kinds of scenarios, because I want to also emphasize that I don't think this is a bit like hot take, but I don't think a single content creator out there is a good opinion, me included, on what should be done with the game. And I mean this because the content creators do not represent the vast majority of the players. We play this game way more than the average Joe. We play this way more than we maybe should even, you could argue, right? But we will always be asking for more content, better content flows, changes, etc., because we want more to do. And it's good marketing for the game as well, and I think it's healthy for the game to change up a fair bit, so I do agree. But again, I want to also emphasize that we aren't always the best opinions, which is what I'm saying. In my humble opinion, these are the changes that I would like to do. I marked it up as a few things. I marked it as the bullet point for better content flow, access for options, cheater situation, solo duo queue, and a point that's called communicate for God's sake. It is actually like that, and then it says you be pleased with a smiley face. Alright, let's dive into it. So, for the better content flow, what I wrote down in my head is I would not mind toss-ups. I don't think changing operator loadouts would be too bad. Even adding like options that aren't necessarily on the operator already, giving someone the deagle would be very fun, even though I do still not have the black eyes, considering that I opened up 1,300, but anyway. Loadout swaps. New weapon rotations. What I mean with that is have dedicated weapons. Like the super shorty has become this weapon that we swap when an operator is too good at doing multiple roles, doing roaming, doing other things. Just having the like a few more weapons that can be altered, swapped, and rotated would make for a much more diverse gameplay like experience from season to season. I think I'm cutting that at like weapon variety, but I'm not sure. If this makes the final cut, what I want to do is I kind of want to like lean directly into the hostage secure area night mode kind of the discussion point, which is the option point. So sorry if I rambled a bit there, if this makes the cut. But let's quickly like then hop over to options, which is what I want to talk about. This I think could be good. I have said, and I've read other people having the same opinion. I'm also in that opinion, by the way, that like hostage and secure area might be fun for ranked, but I also want to emphasize that if you look at the other games, let's look at Counter-Strike, there's not many people queuing for hostage in Counter-Strike. There's a few, but the queue times are like 6-folded. Like they're 6 times as long, is what I mean. The reasoning for this is that even though we want variety, if you turn on all 3 game modes and you queue quick match, you're gonna get bombs 90% of the games. People toggle it off. I love the idea of having the option to toggle. Like toggle on hostage, secure area, or night mode. Like night maps. I would love night maps, by the way, for aesthetical reasons. And just like a map feels very different to play when it's like a little bit more sneaky with night mode. But it doesn't... like I think it's a bit of a redundant argument because people just toggle it off anyway. I would like to be proven wrong here, because I think that security area and hostage made for some really fun content back in the days, and they made like variety on the rounds. So I would love to bring it back more as an active thing. I kind of want to do like a video now where I just like toggle on hostage and secure area only for like a month and see how well we do. Okay, this leads me into the cheater situation. Cheater situation is a bit difficult because cheating is always a battle of attrition that Ubisoft will always lose, and this counts for all video games, right? I want to emphasize that like every single game has cheaters to a certain degree. Obviously it's really bad in Siege right now. I want to emphasize that. I am fully aware. I also refuse to like sit there and spitball that same argument every day on stream, because when people ask me, I kind of want to ignore it. I'll come back to that and I'll explain why later. But it boils down to redundancy of me saying it, because they know. They come in and ask for me for confirmation. Are there a lot of cheaters in Siege? Yes, there is. But if I keep saying yes, we'll all just say, yes, there is, never being a negative Nancy. And I'll come back to that later. But again, the cheater situation is always a war of attrition that Ubisoft doesn't win. And that is because cheat providers make money. For Ubisoft, it costs money to get rid of them. Not only is it that they get money, but Ubisoft loses. This is a balance that they need to put in more money to make the game more viable, to keep us playing. But it costs them money, and it's like, not only that, but it costs them time for development for other things. I have no clue, but I can envision that like some of the reason that we've been getting lesser content is because they need to funnel a fuck ton more money into the cheater situation, and we don't want that. None of us wants that. But it's just the way it works right now. It's kind of a world problem, actually. I'm really frustrated with the whole cheating situation. It's not just Siege. It's that people seem to really want the easier way out. And again, a little bit back to the same thing. The more we talk about the cheater situation, the more we advertise for the cheaters. Because there's a lot of people who are easier influenced than probably you, me, or a lot of other people. But if you are easily influenced and you see that everybody else is cheating, a lot of people will download cheats. Not even maybe to use. I've seen a lot of vigilante cheaters that like, oh, that guy cheating, so I toggle. Doesn't make them better than the other cheater, but it's because they feel like it's so common that they have to have like a backup plan, a redundancy plan, like whatever you want to call it, right? What's going on post-edit Girtania here? I just want to emphasize, I don't feel like I've finished up this point, but the short version that I meant with it is more or less that it's become such a generalized problem in gaming that I know of multiple people who has downloaded vigilante cheats, which what I mean with this is they don't actually like cheat on a regular basis, but they'll cheat when they think the enemy is cheating because it's so common to cheat. This was very common in Counter-Strike for a long time, and I feel like we've kind of reached that point in Siege 2 where you see people who aren't toggling unless they think that the opponent is toggling. This does not make them better than any other players and stuff like that, but it's like it showcases a big like personality attitude problem on the overall surface of the game. It's more or less what I meant with it, but it was a bit of a rambling point, so I just want to clarify before we continue on. And that's the state of the gaming in general, like. But again, it's like a hard battle for Ubisoft to win, and right now we're in a really bad spot. I hate it, but like, what can you do? Like, they need to invest more money to it, but I don't know how well that would even transfer. This is one of those situations where I'm like at a stalemate because I have no insight on how it works as a developer. But I also want to like emphasize the short version is cheater bad, situation bad. I think Ubisoft is trying. I would assume so. And I'm just hoping that it gets better. It doesn't just like, it's just not just Siege. It's like kind of a bigger issue in the whole gaming sphere. But Siege is one of the games where like cheating really gives you the power because of one-shot headshot, and that you can't really like, it's harder to detect with how like vast Siege is. Oh, yeah. That's my 2 cents on that. I've been rambling a bit. Let's go over to the next point. The next point is solo duo queue. I think that would be fun. My issue with it is similar to adding hostage and secure area. I think not just like, would it just be too unpopular? I've heard people also say that like, I think it's League of Legends that does it, that like in higher ranks it just isn't possible to stack. You have to solo duo queue. Whereas I feel like that can be a little bit limiting. You could also do like either you solo duo queue or you 5-stack. You have to choose either. I feel like that could be fun. It would add a little bit more of an emphasis to communicating in-game, and also would encourage people to be a bit more optimistic and positive, because you'd lose more games when you're negative, and they would notice that quite fast. But I do like, I think it might be too unpopular. I think there would be too few people queuing. Queue times would be too long. People would be frustrated. What do you guys think? Our last point is communicate, for God's sake, UB Plus. It is what it says. And I want to emphasize, they need to get better at communicating. There's nothing that I despise more than when they're like not saying anything, because like even just saying we're working on the issue is better than radio silence. We're getting so much radio silence. People are angry, they're frustrated, their favorite game is like having a shit time, is getting punched in the face, and they're like, at least say that you're monitoring it. Like keep like more comms, talk to us. It helps us out a lot. And I feel like it also lets us talk more positively about it, because then we can say we know that they're looking at this. I think it was last time when we had specific, I can't remember the specific instance, there was like a bug revolving deployable shields that could create it so that you could get to certain aspects, and they were like, we're seeing this, we're dealing with it. Thank heavens, I now know that next patch it probably is gone, or they're investing resources to it. I'd also like them to then, again, in the same vein, use disable features for like, because they have a feature where they can disable operators. We saw this when Clash broke down, like, and crashed the game. Use that more when there's main issues on operators, and be more like lively in terms of how you do changes, so that rather just, oh, I changed this overtuned, disable it for a little bit while we fix it for next patch. I want to add on one final point before I get into the end here, but I wanted to add like a small point, being that I think it would be fun with chaos modes where we are allowed to do a little bit more sandboxing. I know that there's some limitations to Siege that doesn't let them do that, as far as I've understood it. I might be wrong on this. If I am, roast my ass. But I would love the ability to do wacky shit, like host a custom lobby where we have 50 Capcan traps and you have to play find the traps. Not because I like Capcom, but because I like the idea of just custom content like that. I was even talking, like, I was just, when I'm recording this, I've just been in Coconut Bras small tournament where it's like last one to leave the circle wins. This is something I've been wanting to do forever, but Siege limits you to 30-minute rounds. Like, you can't really do like a last one to leave after 30-minute wins, right? Because then everybody's just going to stay for 30 minutes. For context, we did stay like 4.5 hours or something. However, with a sandbox mode, suddenly he can do cooler videos. And with the current event mute protocol, or flesh and metal, or whatever, flesh and steel thing, there is infinite overtime. So we could stay 4 hours in the lobby. We could suddenly do this silly video strategy he's been having in mind forever. I would love to have access to that, but I absolutely get if like it's completely impossible. But we're seeing that with the custom game modes that they're pulling out now in the events and stuff. New things are possible. So I'm hoping that we get to see like more options for us as well. Right, let's hop into the final end. I want to end this with like a few very small notes. Like this is a ramble video. I don't really do these. This is the first time I've ever, like, I'm just speaking out of my mind. I barely have any notes here, and I'm just kind of talking out of my head because I want to air this a bit. I know a lot of people are negative right now. There's a lot of pessimism going around. So what I want to say is, I want to say these few points at the end, regardless of what you think of the game state, regardless of if you agree with me or disagree with me. I want to say, stay healthy, safe and happy. do what makes you happy. As long as it does not harm anybody else, do what makes you happy. And I'm saying this because at the end of the day, you need to remember that we're playing a video game. Siege is a video game. It is meant to be fun, enjoyable, and good for you. If it isn't, it is healthy to take breaks. Like I said earlier, I took a long break. It helped me. I came back and I had like a blast when I come back. I realized what I was craving. I was craving Siege. I was just frustrated with community, negativity, and other aspects of the game. Take breaks, be healthy, do what you love, right? It's a video game. It's your spare time. Why are you playing something that you hate? Take breaks. And come back. Because Siege is enjoyable. Siege is an amazing game. It just needs to be a bit more positive and happy, I think. And we also do need to get rid of those fucking cheaters. But that's besides the point. Remember as well, I've written down an argument here, which is remember that even though we disagree with devs, creator, pro players, other players, even the guy on Reddit named Iana Feetpick69, there's a human behind that. Maybe not the Iana account, but you know what I mean. There's a human behind it. There's a developer that's a human who has a life outside of this. There's a creator who has a family and friends that they are talking to and care for. Pro players who have a whole team, a whole career, a life, right? And the other player who's a dad 45 being a plumber. There are people behind the screens. So be kind. Like, just a lot of people seem to forget that these days. Just act decent. It's important because it makes for a much better experience for everybody involved. The next point is positivity breeds positivity. And I do mean this. Especially, like, I can use an example from when I've been playing, like, the solo queue series. When I break the ice, because I'm often, like, very often the first one to talk in the lobby. And I try to break the ice with, like, some humor, encouragement, positivity. Stuff like that just makes it so that we become better versions of ourselves. And you always, like, everybody wants to be a better version of themselves, right? Even if you're content at where you are. You do want to be the best version of yourself. And I feel like we could do a lot better by trying to be positive, trying to focus on shit that's good, rather than just the negative aspects. Try and look at bright sides and stuff, right? It helps a lot for all of us. Constant negative loops just ends up like draining on all of us. Even if you are like the guy who reads the news 24/7, like I'm pretty sure you who's watching this can relate to this, but if you've been in a friend group where everybody just piss talks, if you've been in constant doom scrolling news, like regardless of what it is, because our brain is programmed to remember negative things more than positive things, because we're supposed to avoid the negative things, negativity makes you more negative, positivity then makes you more neutral or positive, which is good. So that's more or less what I want to like emphasize with all of this. Lastly, like I always say at the end of my streams, remember to tell somebody that you love them. Take care, see you guys in the next video, have a good one. Peace out.